Minasan konnichiwa, annyeonghaseyo, sanbonani, bonjour, whichever language you want. We are joined today by King Kunda, aka Navis Cortez. He is doing some very interesting life insight, life coaching content on Instagram. If you can find him at King Kunda. I want to give you a big thank you for joining me today on the Tuxedocast. And I hope you guys like the new look. I'm trying something different. And without further ado, King Kunda, welcome to the podcast. Please tell me, how did you get started in doing life coaching?
First of all, dude, thank you. Thank you so much for actually having me here. The fact that you believe that I could add value to this is dope. That's really good for me. It's a positive indication. But let's say I don't really want to call it life coaching, though. I guess it kind of is, right? Like kind of the pseudo life coaching, but it's really like, so I've lived in many places and I've had many experiences and I read a lot, right? Case in point. But it's basically me trying to say, I can actually share everything I learned and what is like the easiest way, or like, obviously like people's attention spans now are pretty, our attention spans are not good. So, short clips, just kind of telling you different topics, like from my experience. Obviously, I don't know everything, like I don't have all the answers, but at least trying to help people avoid the potential pitfalls that I've gone through and avoid the struggles that I've had to face. Yeah. So, I mean, it's really just like trying to give back in general, I think.
That's a brilliant thing. And you touched on some amazing points. In your opinion, what if we had to mention 3 of the biggest pitfalls you feel young men in particular fall for? Yeah. And how did you learn from this and navigate away from it? Maybe if we could just pick the 3 biggest pitfalls.
Let me see, just the 3 biggest ones. So, okay, I think they all kind of stem from a place of a lack of self-awareness, right? And also the desire. So let's say one is trying to impress people that don't really that don't care about you, or trying to like gain acceptance from a certain group of people and just kind of not being who you are. So one pitfall is definitely like not being your true self, right? Just kind of following the crowd, thinking this is what I should do and trying to do that. The second pitfall, I think, sort of connected to the first one, is as young dudes, we don't really think about our finances until we don't think about it too early in the game. You know what I mean? We think about it late in the game. Like I've had, so, back in the days, boys used to assess the expenditures after the club, like the day after. It's like, oh, this is what I've gone through. You know what I mean? And it's just kind of impulsive decision. So being impulsive, right? And not kind of having a plan, thinking things through, I think is another thing. And then the third thing obviously has to be related to females. I mean, if you're a young guy, like that is the easiest way to get sidetracked, is if you don't know exactly how you should be relating to females. And because of like hip hop culture, you know what I'm saying? Like, I know you, we for the culture. The culture kind of misled us in the way that we all kind of look at women in a certain way when growing up. And like as young dudes are very impressionable. So I think that kind of sets us off in the wrong path to begin with. So I think those are the 3 things. Yeah.
Thank you for that incredible answer. And you touched on some very true things that myself also becoming an old head, as we call it, I can definitely relate that I've seen it in others, I've seen it in myself, I've seen others going into those same 3 things that you mentioned: understanding finances, trying to follow the wave, and of course, chasing the ladies, chasing female validation. Exactly. Now, I like how you touched on they all root from very similar, from a very similar place. Yeah. Please tell me, how did you now find this psychological independence, where as someone who loves hip hop and followed hip hop for the longest time, when did you now start questioning certain things and realize?
Yeah, let me tell you, first of all, let me just backtrack a little bit and say I'm definitely not perfect. Even as somebody who's been through the fire, I still struggle with these things. I still like, admittedly, you know what I mean? But it's like I said, so it sort of stems from self-awareness. And it's kind of like if you're just on autopilot and you're just kind of going with the flow, you never really check inventory on yourself. You're kind of looking for like the next, it's almost like a fiend. Like if you're like you had a crack fiend or like a junkie and they're just looking for the next hit, it's like if you're quote unquote F-boy or whatever, you're just looking for the next chick that you want to bag. if you're all about sneakers and rims and cars, you're just looking for like it never ends. You know what I mean? So I think catching it actually starts from like kind of pausing and just saying, wait, chill. Let me take a step back. Let me do some introspection and let me just see what I'm about. Like do I stand for these values? Like are my habits in line with my principles, basically, and I think a lot of people don't actually do that. Like, I mean, if you think about it, probably, I don't know if what's the first thing you think most people do when they wake up? Like
Check their
first thing.
phones. What are the Instagram notifications, Facebook notifications,
Exactly.
WhatsApp statuses,
Exactly. And it's almost
TikToks?
maybe you could say some people might do it to wake up their brain because you're half asleep. You're like, but how is the first thing that you like sort of take in, the like an external factor that you have no control over? You have no idea what you're gonna see. And that could really like kind of set the trajectory for your mindset for the whole day. And if these days compound into weeks, which compound into months, which compound into years, the next thing you know, it's like, okay, you actually don't even know yourself. So I think like self-awareness and self-assessing is like just pause. I think COVID actually did a good thing in the way that it forced all of us to just be in the house with our thoughts. If you didn't spend all that time binging on Netflix and you did do some like introspection, then it would have been good for you in some way.
Wow, you again touched on a very interesting point where I can lead into the next topic I'd like to talk about, of how you mentioned now self-growth and how
Yeah.
it's something you became self-aware of and realized, okay, I've got a finite lifespan and the things I'm trying to accomplish, how can I make these things happen? And you also mentioned there's a lot of misleading information where you've read an impressive amount of books, you're taking in a lot of information online, you're speaking to people. How did you now discern what was useful information for these same goals now that you want to accomplish? How did you go about saying, okay, I'll take this, take that? Because again, we have things like the Fresh and Fit podcast, a lot of people saying a lot of, different areas of thought. Some guys are screaming red pill, some guys are screaming black pill, some guys have gone MGTOW. And how did you now discern what is good information, what is not?
Yeah, it's actually crazy because the one thing we have an abundance of now is information, right? Whereas like 100 years ago, it was complete opposite. And it's like, because I'm an analyst, right? So we have this thing called analysis paralysis, where it's like you have so much data to analyze and you don't even get started because you're just like, oh my God, like this is overwhelming. Like what should be the first variable in my model? Like you just get stuck. And people, I think do get stuck in that sense. It's like one day you want to be this, tomorrow you want to be that. One day, and as sad as it is, like we kind of imitate the people that we look up to and the people that we want to be like. And the problem with social media is that we're getting dozens of people that we want to be like or look up to or want what they have or what they appear to have. I mean, I'd say, because we don't know if they have happiness and etc. Perfect skin, I don't know. So we kind of behave like them. And then, like you're saying, we get sidetracked because now we're following like 12 different routes. But I think, honestly, for that, I don't have the answer. But I do think you just need to start somewhere and you need to choose one thing. Like if I'm trying to improve on my, I don't know, my finances or my physical, physically, my health, the gym or something, I'm going to find one person. I'm going to see what his workout routine is. I'm going to try it. And the only way that you learn is by trying and failing. But the problem is, if you try too many things at once, you never actually get to see if you even get to the level to succeed. Right. So it's about this whole everyone has ADHD culture. Like just like focus on one thing. That's it. I think that's really the only way to. I mean, it also helps to kind of see what other people are saying if you're like trying to get information from someone. I think it helps to actually, if you're going to read a book, look up book reviews. There are rating systems for a reason. So I mean, when it comes to tangible things, I think that's something you could do is look at the feedback from others and look at the rating systems and look at what people are saying. And you'll know if that's for you or not. I mean, you don't have to jump into a 300-page book to know if it's going to be a waste of time or not, So, yeah.
Very, very interesting. I like how you also mentioned the part of physical fitness as well as understanding the mental game. How important was physical fitness as much as, book reading and sourcing information?
I would argue, I think they're pretty much on par, to be honest with you. I mean, look, you can have one without the other, but you don't want to be Johnny Bravo and be completely mindless, have a nice physique and have no depth to you. But then at the same time, you don't want to be like, this desk bookworm, or that's just literally like lives in the books and you have no, you just need to be a well-rounded individual. I think it's like a mind, body, spirit thing. So like as much on the same token as like the mental growth and the physical health is the spiritual growth, right? But the benefit of actually, like, the number one benefit I think of the gym and physical training is, one, first of all, if you feel comfortable in your own body, and that's going to give you so much confidence. But second, you actually get more energy to have more mental growth. Like, as funny as it sounds, like, you can stay up for longer. You can just do things that somebody who's less fit than you would be able to do, even when it comes from a mental point of view, I think. So, I mean, and I think it's just, obviously, when we look at all the people we look up to, most of them definitely would swear by physical exercise. And you don't have to be lifting 200 kgs in the gym. Just do something that you can do and do it continuously. And yeah, there's so many other benefits that, I mean, I won't go into because it's just going to be a waste of time that people can look up. But the physiological benefits, hormones being released, insulin levels dropping, like, there's so many benefits to working out. It's almost a no-brainer. It's like such an easy hack for anyone to do.
So on the King Kunda channel, would you ever consider doing any fitness tutorials? Because you can do some quite impressive physical things.
I'm not ripped enough.
Push-ups and
I'm not ripped in. I mean, look, let me not play myself, right? Again, this is back to the self-assessing. Stay in your lane, right? My lane is not trying to improve people's physical health. It's trying to improve them as people. Like, that's what I think I'm really trying to do. And yeah, the physical aspect does encompass that. So I'll highlight the benefits, but I'm not going to sit here and pretend that I've studied. There are people who have studied this and people who do this for a living. Like, literally, this is their livelihood. So I'll leave that to them, So in terms of, you might see one or two posts of me in the gym just playing around, like you said, doing handstand push-ups or muscle ups or something like that. But that's really just for the vibes. You know what I mean? And if it does inspire someone to be like, yo, I want to be able to do a muscle up, then cool, because they're gonna start a physical journey that they're gonna have to hit certain milestones to get there, right? So then, it's, as long as it's value additive to someone. Yeah.
I like how you've really described how it can save you a lot of pain and frustration, finding the right expert to help guide your path, someone who can give you the right inspiration, right motivation, and really monitor your discipline. How did you go about finding mentorship and now also kind of stepping into a mentorship role with the King Kunda IG page? I'm sure people will send you questions on, and these are people's lives in your hands. Please tell me about that experience of finding mentorship and now also stepping into a mentorship role.
Yeah, so I guess I've always kind of enjoyed motivational videos, right? And I think it was a time when, I had to write the really difficult exam. I mean, at almost every point in my life in adversity, I might listen to something just to give me a little push. I mean, and it even goes back to like hip hop. Like, earlier today, I was listening to Eminem song Till I Collapse. What the message he's saying in that song is pretty much kind of the same message, just delivered in a different manner. But it started with, I didn't actually have a mentor. Like, so growing up, I was raised by women, right? So I didn't have that father figure, mentor figure. So I would really look externally for that. And I did have individuals in my life, but then obviously stumbling on these guys on the internet, like, i.e. Eric Thomas or Tony Robbins, the kind of advice that they would give you is just like, damn, like, I wish I knew that, 5 years ago, 6 years ago, like, because it's like game-changing advice if you actually implement it. And so yeah, that's kind of where I started leaning on, towards like, I can actually learn from people, and not just about 1 + 1 or 5 × 5, or the third law of motion or whatever. I can actually learn like life lessons from people. Granted, as a child, sure, like, my mom taught me everything she could, but there's still more I could learn, because it's, there's different lanes, right? So you can't expect to know everything from one person. So in a similar fashion, when I started working professionally, like, this guy named Rafaro basically became my mentor. He was like big shot at this bank, local bank, and learning from him and just kind of hearing his advice. And then also I had a job in Hong Kong for a while, so then I had a mentor there. So I've just sort of learned through the different steps in life that it's important to have someone who has been through the fire, or who has what you want to have, and to learn from them. Because I think, what was a quote? There's a quote that said something about like a smart person or something learns from the no, sorry, a fool will learn from their own mistakes, but like a smart person will learn from the mistakes of others. Something along those lines.
Definitely. I believe the quote was, a smart person learns from their mistakes, a wise person learns from the mistakes of others as well. So one was smart, the other was wise. And
even better, right? Yeah. So the fool learns from nothing. Let's throw him. But basically, I think that's really why mentorship is important. And then in terms of me actually saying, let me give back, because I'm like, okay, I post cool stuff, I can post cool videos, but what can I actually like have on my social media that I feel like obviously many people can do it, but what can I do in a way that's like my voice, or me trying to like give back in some way that like I require nothing, absolutely nothing. Like, sure, I can drop some advice, because I'm always telling my cousins, little cousins, I'm always telling like, friends, trying to like give them advice, but I'm like, I can actually try to do this on a bigger scale and more publicly, just be open with it. And that's pretty much what I did.
Incredible. So you really said some great points, and I'll just try summarize the meat of what I could take, and how you just described this hero's journey that you went through, of how many of us can relate if you've grown up with a single mother, of now, because a lot of the times for many people, your father is your first sort of mentor. And when you don't have that sort of father figure, actually. Robert Kiyosaki mentioned in his book, Rich Dad, Poor Dad, how he saw himself as having two fathers, and how you sort of make this Frankenstein father figure for yourself, and how it's an incredible type of flexibility you can have, where you now pick and choose pieces that you're like, oh, I need some of this, I need some of that. And how you, a very important thing you learn from your parents or your first mentors is a type of self-regulation. Whereas when you're a child, you think, candy, I want food, I want play, I want to play now, I don't want to work. And your parents have to give you that sort of self-regulation of, go to bed now, no, don't eat this, don't do that. And if you never learn that from your mentors, a lot of people grow up as these kidults. They become adults, but they're still children.
They just follow their impulses.
There you go.
Any impulse, they just follow.
There you go. Things like conflict resolution, not carrying grudges, disciplining yourself, being motivated. It's very hard to teach yourself. It's really something you have to learn from a mentor. And in other societies, other social structures, you sort of, maybe you go to the Buddhist monks and you sit and they make you meditate till you reach a state where you can now regulate yourself of, no, I don't want a lot of the noise out there. And you learn how to pick and choose what sort of fits you. And this thing of finding your tribe, finding like-minded people, but in your case through work, where you went to one job here and you sort of find a mentor there and another one, find a mentor there.
You take a little bit from everyone, right? To just sort of keep adding to your arsenal of like your toolkit, of your survival toolkit.
There we go. You really touched on some amazing points just of your journey, and how you sharing and now eventually going into a mentorship role as well. Because when you've been mentored for a long time, you sort of have to pass the torch along and help others go into it. And just to finish off, lastly, what is your daily routine like? Because definitely you're someone who is a high performer, who is always seeking, growing, go back, improve, now go back, alter, change, whether the gym, whether your knowledge, whether your spirituality. What is your daily, or even maybe daily is a bit too much, weekly or monthly? What is the process that you do to keep this wheel moving?
Let's say so obviously I'm like always trying to improve the routine, you know what I mean, and always trying to stick to the script. But I guess from a high level, just from an advice point of view, like creating a list, like make a list of what you want to achieve in a month, the week, and then you can drill it down to the days. I mean, it's this book I'm reading called Eat That Frog. that's where that's from. I'll probably drop some info on that on my page. But basically, every day I would try to, or let's say every week, like you're saying, try to at least get 4 to 5 workouts in the week. Notice it's better in the mornings. So typically I'll try to wake up. This is my ideal. Let me give you my ideal schedule because I didn't do this yesterday. So let me not front, right? Or today. But I'll try to wake up and meditate for like maybe 10 to 15 minutes. After that, just like get my mind awake, literally like as in like, shower or whatever. Read a little bit. This is on a day that's not with the gym. If it's for the gym, I'm not going to shower till after the gym session because I'm just not showering twice before 9 o'clock. And so basically, ideally you meditate in the morning, you do something physical. So you actually, you exercise or even if it's for 20 minutes, 30 minutes, whatever, it doesn't matter, but just get moving. Drink a lot of water every day. Try to drink, I think that just keeps as fuel for the body in general. And then mental growth. So like try to read something and not like the news, because the news is always going to be there. You can pretty much watch the highlights. You can check on Twitter. You can watch the CNN special. Read like a book that's actually going to improve who you are, or maybe if it's a goal that you've always had, like say you want to learn Spanish or something, take 20, 30 minutes every morning to just dedicate to that. And then another thing that I think is important, and then obviously work happens, work is going to take all of us, right? If you're an entrepreneur, that's even more amazing and even harder from a hustle perspective. But on a daily basis, I think at nighttime also to keep a journal, so you can just kind of unpack like what you've been going through. And my journal entries are more like conversations, like, because we all have a voice in my head. So it's like, we all have voices in our head, sorry. So my journal entries are like a conversation with the voice in my head, more or less. Yeah. But on a weekly basis, I think that's what everyone should try and do. I mean, and if you can, like throw in like completing a book, like, every couple of weeks. Or people act like it takes long to read a book. People avoid it, but it actually doesn't. I mean, I'm also a fan of audiobooks. I don't know if do you listen to audiobooks?
My cheat for listening to audiobooks is I listen to podcasts and I get summaries of those books and I say, what is the meat? What is the important parts? So
see, I mean, but even that is right. It works. Like you kind of walk away with the essence. But what I was gonna say is that if you listen to an audiobook, it might be like 4 hours long. Like maybe this Atomic Habits, I think it's 6 hours long, the audiobook. If you've ever tried to listen to the audiobook and read along with the book, you will get so impatient because you read almost twice as fast as the narrator. So the point is that if he was narrating it in 6 hours and you probably read, let's say not twice as fast, let's say 2/3, I don't know. That means you could read the book in 4 hours. You telling me if, over the course of 2 weeks, 14 days, 30 minutes a day for, I don't know, what's it like 12, I don't know how many days, you know what I mean? 8 days. You're done with the book. Like, you know what I mean? It's just about, like I said, it's just about this whole focus and stuff like that. So a lot of people just don't, I think a lot of people struggle with that. But yeah, so monthly things, I mean, daily habits, exercise, feed your mind, get your body right, of course. And also, this is hard for me, but respect your relationships, and not just like romantic relationships, but your family. Like, don't be like, just check in with people. You know what I mean? It's nice it costs nothing to reach out to somebody. And that's another thing, is like we're living so separately already because of like quarantines, et cetera, et cetera. I think now more than ever, it's more important to kind of make sure people are okay. Because yeah, if none of us are checking on anybody else, then all of us are kind of just sitting there with like pseudo depression, and it's not good. Yeah.
Incredible. Thank you for that insight into some of the things that really help you build and grow your knowledge base. And NB, to anyone listening right now, if a lot of your day is consumed on TikTok, IG, going to KFC, come back, drink a 2-liter Coke, and wonder why you're feeling down. There goes my battery. And I do apologize. I feel on that note.
No, don't worry.
Kunda, I want to thank you so much for joining the podcast and sharing some gems, sharing some insight. And anyone who'd like to get more of this knowledge, or just have a forum where you can discuss these things, please hit him up on IG at King Kunda. Is it King _?
Yeah,
Kunda?
so you could search for King Kunda, but my handle is actually Navis Cortez. So underscore NAVISCORTES _. But if you search for Kingunda, you'll probably see me pop up there. But yeah.
Fantastic. And on that note, battery finished, no video, but it doesn't matter. You got the audio. This is Mr. Low-Key signing out. More interesting episodes coming soon. And if you want Kunda back on the podcast, comment below, put your questions, and I'll do my best to get him there. And thank you for listening. Like and subscribe, reach out, and yeah, keep growing. Signing out.